I've been at Evanswood now for 25 years. Joe and I came there 25 years ago, and we stayed, of course, and have enjoyed it because we knew a lot of people there already. We've had good ministers, and we just enjoyed it. When we had a choir there, I was one of the choir members. I've always been in the choir, no matter where I was, at Evanswood.
Okay, what keeps you coming back to Evanswood? The nursery, the toys?
Yes, lots of toys.
Yeah, lots of toys. Oh, do you be on the stage singing?
Yes.
Yes.
I can tell you what originally brought me to Evanswood. Years ago, I actually preached once or twice in this church, and I knew people at that time. What brought me now is I was curious, how are they doing, and what's the status of their well-being. And when I realized that there was some struggle going on, I decided that I could help. And I have been here now for over a year, and it's been very rewarding.
What brought me to Evanswood? Actually, Pastor Rick Carroll did. He performed my wife and I wedding ceremony. We got his number through Thomas Crystal Gardens, where we got married. And he invited us to attend there after that at Evanswood. And we didn't have a church. We were kind of looking for one at the time. And we started attending. And we've been there ever since. Yeah.
So I started out as going to a Roman Catholic church, a very strict family, following the faith, and it kind of got shoved down my throat. So I got to the point where I stopped going to church for a very long time. Then I decided that it was time for me to start reconnecting with God. That was about the same time that Jason and I had been starting to really get more serious. And so we decided we wanted to start looking for a church together. And for me, part of why Evanswood was Mark and I went to school together. So I knew him and knew that he was a good person, and so that was part of what drew us in.
I think what drew me to Evanswood is kind of like you. When I was little, I used to go to church with my mom and dad, and my Aunt Joyce and Uncle Bill all the time when they were around, or my Uncle Bill was around. But I mean, I used to go a lot when I was a kid, but like you, I got out of it. I stopped going for a while, and I shouldn't have, because I wanted to reconnect with God, and I want to have that spiritual feeling back in me. I want to know that I can pray to God. I can ask Him for forgiveness for anything that I ever do. If I ever sin, or if I ever, if I do something great, or if I, whatever I do in life, I want to know that it's coming from God. That God from above has blessed us with our engagement, with everything that happens in our future. I do. I truly love God, and I'm so glad to be here, and I would like to continue this for a long time.
The first time we came here, many years ago, I don't want to say how many, it was the friendly, welcoming atmosphere that was at the church to everyone, not just a certain kind of person, not just a certain kind of family, but it was to everyone. And I remember our children were little then, and when we talked about it after we visited, they said, and I think it was Liz in particular said, "Mom, I think those people really liked me. They made me feel good." And of course, as a mom, that was kind of the clincher for me. So I think it was how they responded to my children even on that very first visit, and of course then continued to respond to them as we started attending here.
Yeah, we went to Bethany too, when we first moved in the area to check out churches, and the coffee here was better, so were the cookies, so that's what sold me.
Typical Dennis.
What brings me back is the people and just having a relationship with God. never had a relationship with God. So that's what brings me back to Evanswood.
When I say I attended regularly, I actually attended before 1980 because in the 60s my grandmother Velma Horde used to attend Evanswood here when it was just a singular building. And I used to come with her on any Sunday that I spent the night at her home for Bible school, for other special things, and just every once in a while. So I probably came to Evanswood about a dozen times or so a year from the time I was about 5 until she moved away when I was 13.
I started coming to Evanswood when I was 13. I went to another church, and at that church, we had an abusive pastor. There was a joint group meeting with the youth groups between that church and Evanswood's youth leader. And she saw that I was scared. And she pulled me aside and said, "What's wrong?" And I told her. And she said, "You're not stepping in this church again. I will pick you up and take you to my church next Sunday. I'll talk to your parents." And at the time, my dad wasn't going to church, just my mom. And she said, "Fine, but I'll bring them. You don't have to pick them up." So my mom would drop me off here and then go to another church. And over the first week I was here, none of the youth was here because they had gone to Cedar Point the night before, and they were all tired. So all the parents came up and said, "Oh, the kids are going to be sorry they missed you." And it wasn't that big of a church. There was maybe 30 people in the church at the time, but everyone was so nice, and they were so kind, and they were so welcoming, and no one knew, except for the youth leader, what I had gone through. So I said, at least she acted. She did something. And she brought me here, and I fell in love with the pastor, Pastor Bob Starkey at the time. And we became very good friends. And he invited me to stay at his house on Sundays during the afternoon. We'd eat dinner or go out to dinner, play chess, card games, whatever with the family, and then come back to church in the evening, and that's when we had youth group. And the youth leader was gone within 2-3 months. Sandy Piles was her name, and she moved on. A guy named Sam Massimino took over, and loved him too. So I felt safe. I felt wanted in a good way. And I just knew it was home.